Welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm making some Christmas cards to celebrate Christmas in July. And the idea is to get some Christmas cards done way before December so that you're not busy trying to get a lot of cards made during the holidays. In fact, I've had an idea for this card since I've gotten this stamp set, but I didn't have time to make them last year. Other crafters have the same problem and also challenge to do this. So one of the ladies that I hop with in Team Tiny decided to start a hop, and she created a Facebook page to do that. So anybody who is a YouTube crafter is welcome to join, and you can make cards or anything else with the theme for that week, and you can sign up for whichever weeks you want. So this week the theme is stamping, so you could create any item using stamping. So I'm making cards, but it doesn't have to be a card. And this has given me the chance to use those stamps that I wanted to use last year. First of all, I'm doing my panels for my cards. So I'm starting with spraying this watercolor paper that I cut out in rectangular shape with my Lawn Fawn rectangle dies, because it does a stitched edge around the sides, and I think that gives it a good finish. However, if you don't have a die, you can cut out a paper to the size that you want to make your card. In this case, it's an A2 size card, so it's 5.5 by 4.25. I'm spraying my backgrounds with Nuvo Mica Mist, and this is Pink Carnation, or I should say I'm trying to spray it with the Pink Carnation. I wanted to spray it and do splatters, but the spray doesn't always work. And in fact, I will not put this in the description below because I do not recommend products I don't like or they don't work, which is why I don't like this. So the problem is it has mica in it, so it gets clogged up. I do not know if other brands have the same problem, but this one never works. In fact, this is a replacement bottle that Nuvo sent me, and so I'm just trying to use it up. So I have found the first two bottles I got was a green and a red for Christmas. The green one worked the first time I used it and then got clogged, never could unclog it. And the red one only kind of worked the first time I used it and never worked again. I followed all the tips I can find on YouTube. I've put them sideways. I don't shake them up and down. I've rinsed out the nozzle. I've soaked the nozzle. That didn't work. So my new solution when I use this is to put it into a bottle I got from Hobby Lobby and use it, and then dump it back in the old bottle and clean the Hobby Lobby bottle out. However, I know that mica gets stuck in there, but to me, they shouldn't sell a product if it doesn't really work. You shouldn't have to go buy new bottles to use your product. While I'm waiting for my panels to dry, I went ahead and got my card bases ready. So I just cut cardstock that's 8.5 times 11 and half and folded that in half. Then you have a card base, or you can buy pre-made card bases. So I'm just using one stamp set because it has a lot of images, and this is Sweet Christmas from Lawn Fawn. And I will apologize that I keep getting my head in the way when I'm doing my stamp platform and also when I'm doing my embossing, because I'm trying to see what I'm doing, but I have it zoomed in more so you can see. Now, I don't get a complete stamp the first time, and it's two reasons. First of all, I noticed I needed to move my magnet because the stamp wasn't getting complete contact with the paper. And also, this is the first time I've used the stamp set, so a lot of times you have to stamp more than once when you first use a stamp because of the coating that's on it. So that's what I did. Now I'm using VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink for my sentiment, which the first part is have a sweet, and then I added the word Christmas. And later I do 3 more cards with have a sweet holiday. Just because I'll probably give these out to coworkers, and some celebrate Christmas and some probably don't. So that way I have 2 different sentiments to choose from. On this card, I'm using picked raspberry for my gingerbread man, and then I'm using spun sugar for the piece of candy. On the rest of the cards, I just used picked raspberry for the candy also because it was easier, and I didn't really like the look it was giving. Now I'm doing this to match my front, which will use the stamp set, and I'm going to be doing kind of monochromatic cards and just doing different shades of pink with white. After the panels dried, then I did my stamping with heat embossing. I realized when I got my stamps out that I originally planned on doing landscape, but I had already made the card bases in portrait style. That's okay, I just changed where I'm going to put the stamps. I go over my card panels with my embossing buddy or embossing tool or powder tool. They're called different things. First, before I stamp, that way the embossing powder only sticks where you stamp. If you don't have this, you can just rub on some baby powder or cornstarch. I'm stamping my gingerbread man and girl first because I want them in the foreground. So if you're doing images that are layered, you want to do the images that are in front first, then you mask them off and stamp your other images. So I wanted them to be in front of the house. Now with all of my embossing on this card, I'm using VersaMark ink, which is clear, and then I'm using white embossing powder from Hero Arts. Sometimes I did get some embossing powder to stick where I didn't want it, and so then I just use an old paintbrush to brush it off. So you want to use an old one because if you get embossing powder on things, it's hard to get off. So don't use your good brushes for this. After I finish embossing all my gingerbread people on the card panels, I get ready to do the gingerbread house. So first of all, I cover up the gingerbread man and girl with some mask that I made from Gina K masking paper, and I just stamped the images and fussy cut them out. So this will make sure that I don't stamp the gingerbread house on my gingerbread people. I added 2 candy canes to the stamped images on either side, and this stamp set had 2 facing different ways that worked great. And then I put my gumdrops against the roof. Finally, I do the heat embossing just the same as I did in the previous step. You'll see that the gumdrops didn't go right against the roof, but I solved that when I painted. But on the rest of the cards, I do the gumdrops in a different step. On the next step, I add the gumdrops to the roofs on the other cards, as well as a window and a piece of candy on one side. I'm only showing you each step on one of the card panels and varying up which card panels I use so you can see the different card panels as I work, because it only varies depending on how the splatters were on the first step. Also, I'm speeding it up quite a bit because otherwise this video will be very long. And finally, we come to the last step of the embossing, which is adding a row of gumdrops and a piece of candy to the other side of the house. Now I'm using clear stamps, and the great thing about that is they're pliable, so you can kind of bend this strip of gumdrops to match the curve of the house, which is why they have it in a line, because you can do that. The other thing I like about what I'm doing here is that I'm only using one stamp set, because a lot of times you'll see crafters using a whole bunch of stamp sets, and then you feel like you can't make a card unless you own a lot of stamps, which isn't true. Just use what you have to create a card. Now I do like mixing and matching stamp sets also, because then you get more use out of all your stamp sets. For the very last step of the card, I'm decorating the front by using watercolor. And for watercolor, I'm using my Distress inks, and the colors I'm using is Picked Raspberry, Spun Sugar, and Kitsch Flamingo. You could also do the same things with regular watercolors or watercolor markers. Now, I found when I was doing this, I didn't quite get the look that I wanted because the Pink Carnation Micro Mist turned kind of a brownish pink, which I didn't really like. And also, it does resist the watercolor a little bit. So I do like how it looks. It does kind of look like gingerbread men, but I didn't get the vibrant colors that I wanted. I mean, I wanted a little bit muted because watercolor, but I wanted more shades of pink to show up. So I think I'll try this card again without using the Micro Mist in the background and try maybe splatters at the end and do masking on my image or something like that. So I will be trying this again in the future. This is the card that has the gap between the gumdrops and the roof line. So what I did to solve that is I just painted the roof line with pink color, and then I added snow or icing in between the roof and the gumdrops, so it looks like the gumdrops are sitting on the icing. So I use a new product for me. It's Nuvo Glitter Accents, which is kind of like your Stickles, but it stayed poofier. You could also use the Movavi Snow Marker, but that requires heat setting to get it to be poofy, and I just did not want to get my heat gun out again. I'll have a list in the description below of all the products that I'm using. Some of them will be affiliate links. Those don't cost you anything extra to use, but I do get a small commission from any sales that the links generate, and that helps support my website. So if you are in the market of possibly buying any of the products I'm using, I'd really appreciate if you can use those links. For the rest of the cards, I did the same, but then I just used my Nuvo glitter accents for the roof instead of painting it. Now on all of my cards, I used the white enamel accents on the candy cane to do the white stripes. There were a few cards I tried something different. I used the enamel accents pink for the roof, and then I used the white enamel accents on the bottom to add a little bit of icing. I'll show one of those at the end of the video. I'll add a list of all the people participating in the hop in the description below. Please hop along to the next person in the hop to get some more Christmas ideas and inspiration. Hopefully this will get you started on your Christmas projects. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like. And I love hearing from you. If you can add a comment. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd really appreciate if you can subscribe to my channel. Thank you and have a wonderful day.